Good morning, afternoon, evening, and night, and welcome to the Whose Line Is It Anyway? Iceberg. I won't bore you all with an iceberg explanation since there are hundreds of iceberg videos out there. Just know that this was a labor of love and a pain in the ass to create, mainly due to various issues with my computer. So please enjoy as we dive into the Whose Line Is It Anyway? Iceberg. Layer 1. The points don't matter. A phrase mainly used in the US version said by the host at the start of an episode or after a break. Despite points being awarded after games, points don't matter as the winner is often picked at random. Ryan Stiles. Debuting midway through the second season of the UK run and becoming a permanent mainstay by its sixth season, Ryan Stiles is one of the three long runners of the show, appearing in every televised incarnation of Whose Line. He's known for his height and some classic impressions, plus his intense hatred for hoedowns. He eventually became an executive producer on the show, starting in the US incarnation. Colin Mockery. Another one of the three long runners, debuting during the third season of the UK run, eventually becoming a permanent mainstay by its seventh season, the Scottish-born Canadian raised Colin is a beloved performer alongside Ryan and a Canadian national treasure. Starting with season 5 of the revival, he became an executive producer. Colin's bald Captain Hair. This is one of the longest running gags in all Whose Line history, occurring as early as the UK era. There have been so many jokes about Colin's hair, or in this case, lack of hair. One of the biggest examples was in the second season of the US series when, during a game of superheroes, Colin is given the moniker of Captain Hair. It becomes funnier in hindsight by the US revival when Wayne, who'd mocked Colin for his baldness, ended up becoming balder than our beloved Canadian Scott. Hoedown. One of the more well-known games of the show, performers sing a 4-verse country-style song on a topic given by the host, usually in an audience suggestion, one verse at a time. This was one of Drew Carey's favorite games, possibly because he was halfway decent at it, which led to the others getting rather sick of it. Greatest Hits. A staple starting late in the UK run, 3 or 4 performers show a compilation album. 2 are the sellers, usually Ryan and Colin, and a third, mainly Wayne, sings the songs based on a subject given by the audience. Sometimes the 4th-seater joins in, like Brad, Chip, Jeff, Jonathan, or Gary. Africa Incident. Probably one of the funniest bloopers left in during the taping. In show number 216, Drew introduces the game African Chant and tries to insert some educational stuff before explaining the game. Words can't describe it, so here's the scene.
Africa is a big country just by India there. Madagascar is an island off the side.
It's also a big continent if you're a geographer.
Yeah. Yeah.
I couldn't help it, Drew.
I know.
This incident became the running gag of the taping, with Ryan and Greg being the main instigators, and even to this day, fans will still bring it up to Drew. For example, a contestant that got picked during Drew's The Price is Right run wore a custom t-shirt referencing the blooper. I can't find a picture or footage of this moment, but major props to this fan. Wayne Brady. One of the last US regulars introduced in the UK run, Wayne made his debut in the 10th and last season of the UK series and became a regular early into the US run. Wayne is mainly the singing guy, but he's very funny and can make some great impressions. Starting with the 2013 revival, he became an executive producer. Scenes from a Hat. A fan favorite game, this 4-player game has situations suggested by the audience picked randomly from a hat, and the 4 performers have to act them out. This includes suggestions such as bad ice cream flavors, if dogs could talk, famous movie roles as played by Carol Channing, and I didn't know the mic was on. A variation existed during the original US run called Scenes Cut from the Movies, dedicated to movie parodies, and the audience is asked for movie titles at first. Ryan and Colin Newsflash. Newsflash has had some moments that are much loved by fans, but two stand out the most, the ones featuring Colin and later Ryan as the subject matter for Colin's broadcast. The Colin Newsflash was from the last episode of Season 2 and from the same taping with the Captain Hair superheroes playing. It's probably one of the funniest Newsflash playings, especially with many of the jokes like,
"How did it start?"
It all started with a badly timed ball joke.
This ironically makes it the best timed ball joke ever. Also, you can see the second where it dawns on Colin what the subject matter is with this line. Colin's able to figure it out and guesses that he hopes it's him with his clothes on. After a little bit of ribbing once back to their seats, Colin then realized he made the ball joke during the newsflash, prompting more laughter. The Ryan one was from the last episode of Season 6 and was part of a taping that'll be brought up later. And while not as funny as the Colin one, it has some great moments like Ryan's reaction during the whole ordeal and how Ryan gives Colin the final hint for him to get it.
I'm trying to confuse it.
Oh, Colin, I think you confuse it on a daily basis.
It does end on a heartwarming moment when Colin guesses it with, "I think it's my good friend Ryan Stiles." Richard Simmons episode. Probably one of the more interesting episodes, show number 521, aka the Richard Simmons episode, has been considered one of the funniest episodes of the US version, at least containing one of the funniest games in terms of how everyone reacted. While the late Richard Simmons' first appearance during the Song Styles was fun, it was the living scenery game that broke everyone. Even Colin was losing his composure at multiple points. Drew's hysterical high-pitched laugh is so infectious. At one point during the jet ski incident, Drew is laughing so hard he has to put his head down and starts pounding his fist into the desk to try and stop laughing. Apparently, he broke his glasses during this game, probably from that head desk. This episode also held the record for most laughter in an episode by the studio audience. Greg's reaction just sums up how everyone feels about this game.
I'm just so happy.
Robin Williams episode. Whose line was no stranger to special celebrity guests, especially during the US revival series. But in Season 3 of the first US run in show number 313, we were graced by a very amazing and very special fourth-seater, Robin Williams, who only appeared in one episode, one that's also considered one of the funniest episodes. He shined in every game and was as random and camp as Ryan, Colin, and Wayne. Two things are worth noting. One, the reason why he's blonde was because he was filming the 2002 film 1 Hour Photo. Second, while there's only one episode with him in it, there's still a lot of unaired footage of him somewhere in the WB library, including a game of hats where he made a Mork and Mindy reference. We know of this game due to taping reports and an ad that aired prior to this episode's airing that showed this moment. Suffice it to say, fans want this lost footage of Robin Williams to be released one day. The Neon Lights incident. This was an incident that hit several moments of hilarity plus several awesome points. During a game of Party Quirks from show number 308, Ryan was Carol Channing, a fan favorite impression of his, but with a twist that Carol's head kept getting stuck to things. Once Wayne and Colin were guessed correctly by Kathy Greenwood, Ryan decided, after a bit of banter with her, he was going to stick his head to Drew's desk. Problem was that Drew's desk had neon lights decorated on the front of it, and Ryan miscalculated where he was going to ram his head. And well... Ouch! Oh, wow. Even watching without the sound, I can still hear the ping of the lights shattering when he hits it. Ouch. Ryan somehow managed to continue on, not even breaking character as Drew goes from concern to cracking up, Wayne leaves his chair while laughing, and Colin remains seated but cracking up, a rarity to see. Thankfully, Ryan didn't seem to be hurt from his accident, though in a Who's Live video, he claimed that Kathy pushed him towards the lights. Although it's obvious when watching it that he went towards the desk on his own free will. Either way, it's a wild moment, and like Drew said afterwards,
Hey, it's always funny when it happens to somebody else.
Drew Carey. Known for his stand-up, The Drew Carey Show, and later being the host of The Price is Right after Bob Barker, Drew went with his co-star Ryan's idea of adapting the show for U.S. audiences and became host and executive producer of Whose Line for the first mainly U.S. series. He was also the first host to actively participate in several games, mainly the final game of each episode. Things you can say about blank, but not your girlfriend or partner. Get out your pens, everyone! This is a reoccurring suggestion for scenes from a hat that leads to a lot of innuendos and funny moments. One major example was things you could say to your dog, but not your girlfriend, with Colin giving one that floored everyone.
Come.
And he doesn't just say it, he makes the come here gesture with his hand. No comment. Aisha Taylor. The host of Whose Line for the 2013 revival, Aisha is the first and only female host and only non-white host. She is friends with Drew, and while some don't really like anyone that isn't Drew, she is loved by many for her banter with the other guys. Dan Patterson, the long-suffering producer of the series since the UK run. He and Mark Levinson are the reason why we even have Whose Line. Ho Ye. I'm going to let Drew set up this subject.
Just when he thought Will and Grace was the gayest show on TV. Along comes Whose Line Is It?
There are so many slashy hints and innuendos throughout the series that it has its own page on TV tropes. I once tallied how many kisses were between the performers many years ago, and I think Colin had the most kisses not only between performers, but given and received, with Ryan being the one he's kissed the most. Also, here's a comment from Greg from the Smartest Man in the World podcast from 2014, while discussing Whose Line, objecting to sex jokes between him and Sandy Toksvig. And I quote, "I've snogged Colin Mochrie on TV. I've had Ryan Stiles inside me on television. I've had Wayne Brady's chocolate buns all over my face like a fucking dessert. We are the gayest show in the history of gay." The Melissa incident. When it comes to amazing bloopers left in the show, because it's brought up multiple times, the Melissa incident is one of the more well-known. During a playing of Party Quirks in show number 211, Wayne's quirk was early movie footage from King Kong vs. Godzilla. At one point, Wayne goes to the audience, picks up a random lady, and carries her onto the stage, not noticing until after he sets the lady down that he had accidentally pulled up her skirt. Once he realized what he did, all insanity broke loose, especially when Ryan tried to slow-mo tackle her according to his quirk. After the game, we learned the lady's name was Melissa, and Ryan decided to have fun afterwards. In Hoedown, Ryan refers to this in his verse about cop shows, saying,
Sure, you can watch him if you really want to scare. Thursdays at 8, you can see Melissa's underwear.
As shown on the Best of Whose Line Is It Anyway, there are two alternate unused hoedowns from Ryan, and in both, Ryan referenced what happened with Melissa. In one about censorship, his last line was, "But I hope they don't kite Melissa's nice tight booty." Then there was the one about traffic where his last line was, "Once again I've gotta mention Melissa's ass." Leave it to Ryan to make sure a blooper is put into an episode. Party Quirks. Two iconic playings have already been mentioned, but for those that don't know what this game is, allow me to explain. One performer hosts a party and tries to guess the other three's secret quirks. For example, think he or she is this an impression of someone or something famous, or some ridiculous elaborate character or situation. Expect a lot of insanity and complete randomness from one of the oldest games of the show, having been around since the first aired UK episode. The Maltese Burger. Film noir is often a goldmine of fun Ryan and Colin stuff, but this one from show number 227, set at a burger joint, is considered one of the most memorable. First we have Colin looking for the Maltese Burger, and him drinking some fries given to him. Then we have Ryan poking fun at that sometime afterwards. But then we come to the moment everyone remembers from this playing.
That's when he did something totally unexpected. Something so crazy and wild it took me totally by surprise. Even though it was kind of funny, it still was really weird.
And what does Ryan do? Just plant a big ol' smooch on Colin. This would be the first time Ryan and Colin officially kissed on Who's Line, having several almost ones in the past. Also, after Drew calls the game, you can sort of hear Ryan saying to Colin, I'm sorry, on here? Does that mean they've kissed each other before? Layer 2. Colin's Irish drinking bomb. If Colin ends up singing the last line of an Irish drinking song, expect to hear something extremely random and or very inappropriate. For example, during the Got Mugged Irish drinking song, Ryan gives the line, "A stone I passed," to end his first verse. Colin remembered this, and for his final line, he gave us,
He put my stone back in my head.
another time for Slept with an Ugly Woman. Colin gave us this bit for his last line.
It looked like someone had beat her.
Poor Colin looked so embarrassed he said that in the aftermath. Then we have the broke up one, which had Colin stunning himself with his ending line.
Joe had a nice bone.
Chip and Ryan start walking back to their seats. Colin's left standing silently. Wayne's the only one left singing and reminds Colin they're on TV. And Laura Hall starts fumbling at the keys with how much it went off the rails. Colin's end remark is, "Not what I meant to say." Well, what did you mean to say then, Captain Hare? There are plenty more out there, and one that'll be brought up later in this iceberg, so be ready for it. Hoosers. A short one. This is the name commonly given to the fans of Who's Line. Laura Hall. The charming female pianist throughout all the 2 U.S. run, but she actually appeared first in the last season of the UK run. Like the music player prior, who will be brought up later, she never spoke on the show, except for one incident. HORWARD. Whenever the performers have to do a song in the style of the Village People, expect hilarity. In one episode, Wayne and Chip mess up audience member Derek's name since there are several ways to spell it. The 3 of them also do a can-can number at the end. However, the one that most will talk about is the song styles from the alleged 100th episode, aka show number 410 to Howard. Wayne sings lead as usual with Greg, Colin, and Ryan as backup dancers, and all of them, plus Howard, wear hats in relation to the members of the Village People. It goes well at first, but by the chorus, Wayne misspells Howard's name, throwing in an extra R. And then the music suddenly speeds up due to Laura accidentally hitting the accelerate tempo button, and all hell breaks loose. In the aftermath, when asked what happened, Laura could only respond, in the only time she speaks on the show,
That's okay.
everyone takes it in good fun, with Greg having a great remark.
Watch out for those tempo changes, man. Because when we go into the second bridge, this takes off.
And Wayne, who tries to justify his misspelling.
It's hard to spell at 210 beats per minute.
Drew even remarks that he'd be amazed if this made it to air, but thanks to it being mentioned in show-stopping number and scenes from a hat, it did. Also, Wayne, don't blame the music screwing you up when you were misspelling before it sped up. Easy filming schedule. The Who's Line crew was such a well-oiled machine, they could film 9 to 12 episodes over the course of a weekend. Shooting a whole season took only 3 to 4 weekends every year. The cast revealed it was one of the reasons they were so great together and had a great relationship with each other, because they didn't have to spend that much time together. We're watching animal porn. Songs of Motorcycle from Greatest Hits had some awesome music, like The Harley of Seville. But that song from the second episode featuring this Greatest Hits, show number 426, had something else it's well known for. The intro. It first seems awkward with both Ryan and Colin being a bit out of sync, but then came this.
I don't know what you're watching, so we're not going to tell you. We're going to return you to it.
Oh, we're watching animal porn. Mary had a little lamb. We'll be right back in just a second.
This comes right out of left field, and everyone is just left in hysterics. Well, apart from that one lady behind Drew back there. Colin apologizes, but Ryan just adds fuel to the fire.
So happy. We're watching animal porn.
Never change, you two. Never change. Wayne's tickly butt, the tickler. In the past, the show has revealed intimate knowledge about Wayne. In the episode show number 408, we learned that he's ticklish. Specifically, his butt's ticklish. This becomes the running gag for this episode, mainly for Colin to mercilessly attack him in Party Quirks, where his quirk is the evil Batman villain, the Tickler. Even in other episodes, both in the original and revival US versions, Wayne will occasionally become victim of his tickly butt. Of course, Colin gets his just desserts later on, which will be discussed much later. Greg Proops. One of the best-known U.S. regulars of the UK run, plus the first and longest-running member of the main U.S. cast, appearing in the first episode of the second UK season, Greg is known mainly for his distinct voice and his neat wardrobe, plus his classy glasses. He's also known for his feud in the UK series with host Clive Anderson, which will be discussed later, plus his snarking with Drew later on. The cat! The game Impossible Mission is notorious for some great Ryan and Colin moments, but one playing left Ryan in stitches. In show number 232, Colin and Ryan have to clean a burnoose for the Emir Funkenstein. Of course, neither know what a burnoose was, which made it funny already, but then came the problem of cleaning it in a bathtub with a rigged faucet. Once it exploded and the bathtub filled with water, Colin then began bringing up the idea of using a cat to help clean the garment. It gets worse when Colin can't remember the Emir's name, giving us the Snackerfarker of Emar. This pushes Ryan over the edge, and he can barely function without cracking up as Colin uses the cat to not only dry the burnoose, but also use it as fabric softener. At several points, Ryan is either hunched over or facing away from the audience so we don't see him laughing. He does try to suggest using the cat again when the burnoose falls into the bathtub again, prompting Colin to exclaim, "The cat's wet now!" In the end, the burnoose gets set on fire by accident, and Colin just produces one out of his ass, citing he had an extra one. You can hear Ryan, as they go back to their seats, say, "I couldn't stop laughing." We couldn't either, Ryan. We couldn't either. Props. One of the oldest games of the show. Splitting into teams of two, each team is given a bizarre prop that must be used as the subject of a gag every time they are buzzed in. Sometimes they reuse similar gags like jokes about celebrities like Madonna, Prince Charles, Elton John, and Mick Jagger, a reference to a movie, TV, or cartoons, and if all else fails, do a dick or boob joke. Let's make a date. This game was a dating show in the style of the dating game, with one player playing whatever they want, and the other three playing the bachelors or bachelorettes. However, the three are given cards with weird quirks, ranging from giving birth to a novelty singing bass fish to a glamorous Russian female spy using older brother bullying techniques to extract secrets from the others. And they play out what's on the card, leaving the fourth player to guess who they are at the end. Expect tons of chaos and hilarity, especially if the quirks lead the two or all three to interact in some way. Some highlights are on this iceberg, so keep an eye out. Meow! Yelling out the wrong name in bed Irish drinking song. In show number 603, Colin starts an amusing running gag that becomes downright hysterical. During a Scenes from a Hat, he responds to Ryan, who announces that he, a dog, is dating a cat with just one word. Meow. Using meow in two other games following this, The climax comes with a round of Irish drinking song that's about yelling out the wrong name in bed. It's one of the most glorious disasters in the show's history. Wayne starts off strong, but then Drew stumbles on his line, as shown here.
One night I was getting freaky with my girly Lane.
Colin then gives Ryan a knowing look as if to say, "You're not going to leave Drew's flub alone, right?" as he sings his line.
Boy, we had some fun.
And Ryan, well, everyone breaks down laughing with Colin just throwing in a meow to send everyone into more fits of laughter. The game continues, skipping over the rest of the first verse and all of the second and third, leading into the fourth. It continues all right, but by the last 4 lines, Colin decides to end on a huge bomb.
I think there was a girl involved. That's what I'm thinking.
I don't know what to say. Meow.
Everyone is cracking up so much that Colin is the only one to finish this song. A fitting end to this train wreck of hilarity. Colin's dinosaur. Everyone on Whose Line has an impression they'd like to bring out when needed. Ryan has impressions of Carol Channing, John Wayne and Christopher Lloyd. Jeff has Christopher Walken. Colin has a dinosaur. Back in the 7th season of the UK series, in 2 different episodes, Colin made an amazing and hysterical impression of a dinosaur. Seems basic on paper, but the way Colin did with jerky movements and stretched face made it not only clever, but also funny. This impression would pop up in the US version, much to the delight of the longtime Whose Line fans. It's so associated with him, Greg will reference it several times throughout the series' run. Ryan's bad back. Ryan had a bad back that got really bad in the early US seasons. This is why he sat out of Sideways Scene and why the game Ice Skaters was only played once. It's also why he didn't participate in Moving People during the revival, even though he and Colin would usually rule that game back in the earlier series, and would lead to an incident that'll be brought up later on in this iceberg. Bloopers. Yes, Whose Line has bloopers. For the UK series, they exist in compilation episodes from seasons 2, 3, 6, and 7 that included games that didn't make it into the original taped episodes. The only bloopers from the original US run would exist on the 2-part DVD release of the first US season and in the Best of Whose Line episode from season 2, which will be discussed later. As for the revival, there only exist bloopers from season 10 online that also had cut bits of banter from in between games. Canada jokes. Because Colin is Canadian, expect many Canadian jokes. It was mainly done by Drew, but the others have made cracks. Even back in the UK, Clive made cracks about Canada. Wayne the Stripogram. From the same episode with the Maltese burger, Wayne did a song to a sweet old lady named Lee, a retired lunch lady. Instead of a sweet song like a romantic ballad or a swing number, Wayne ended up doing a song in the style of a stripogram. Oh wait, it gets better. Wonder why Colin is absolutely losing it when Drew reveals the style of music to Wayne? Well, there's a funny story behind it that was revealed on the Vicky Gaboreau show. Wayne was eating lunch with Colin when Lee the lunch lady met them. She explained how her family loved Whose Line and expressed her desire to see a taping of the show. Wayne invited her to join the studio audience at a taping coming up. As Lee left, she asked if Wayne was a Christian. He said he was, and Lee said that he looked like a Christian because he doesn't do anything filthy or curse. Apparently, Lee doesn't watch the show all the time. Before the taping, Wayne had told some of the other guys the story of what happened at lunch, which is what made singing to her as a stripogram so funny. Wayne managed to get through most of the song with a straight face before catching himself singing about a little spaghetti and 2 big meatballs before just losing it. It's funny by itself, but knowing the story makes it a whole lot funnier. Breakdancing Colin, Songs of Sci-Fi. Ever since the UK series, Colin's wild dancing was one of the several things well known about our favorite Canadian Scott. He's had a chance to showcase this several times, like as Disco Kid in a game of superheroes. But the highlight was in show number 612 for the Song of Science Fiction Greatest Hits. Colin decides to announce that the first style would be a breakdance video where he appears in it with Wayne. It's one thing seeing Wayne dancing, but seeing him and Colin going at it is both awesome and hysterical. Poor Colin can barely talk afterwards, with Wayne giving him a glass of water to drink. Of course, it bites Colin in the ass, as the next style was an incredibly fast jitterbug. And of course, Colin is coerced into joining Wayne again. This time a jug of water is given to him to chug afterwards. Still, nothing's better than a breakdancing Canadian. Weird newscasters. Another all-four performer game like Party Quirks and Let's Make a Date, the performers act out the news as two anchors, sportscaster, and weatherman. One acts normally while the other three all have a strange quirk, identity, or situation. Expect all kinds of craziness to ensue, plus plenty of moments where they mess with the host. Brad Sherwood. First appearing in the fourth season, then becoming a semi-regular late in the UK run onwards, Brad stands out not just physically, but for his distinctly frat boy juvenile style of humor. He's also a damn good singer, especially with his impression of B-52's lead singer, Fred Schneider. Colin Hoedown. The first and only hoedown for one of the players, though there was one about being Ryan's wife. This was from the last UK season with Greg, Phil Omar, yes, that Phil Omar, Colin, and Ryan performing. Greg sang nasally and pulled a Colin, breaking off at the last verse to do a Dinah impression. Phil gives Colin props before ending with a ball joke. Colin was thoroughly amused and ended his with a pun on his last name. Ryan, however, not only gave Colin props, but proudly admitted that Colin was his best friend, and he had more hair than Clive. This resulted in the greatest moment of heartwarming, with Colin just flinging himself at Ryan to hug him. Aww. Ryan licks Colin's head. Ryan and Colin's closeness has always been a highlight for any fan, as shown in the previous entry. When they decide to go wild, it's a sight to see. In show number 722, during a round of Let's Make a Date, Ryan plays a kid that wants to lick Colin's head. This leads to him chasing Colin, plus Wayne, whose quirk was him handcuffed to Colin, all over the place. In the aftermath, Drew jokes about what happened, and the exchange gets interesting, especially after Drew mockingly remarks about them being married with kids, as shown here.
She encourages me to lick your head. The problem with your wife is...
I mean, yeah. His wife is cool with it. How come your wife isn't cool?
This can come off in a minute.
All I know is when I saw the note, I was looking forward to seeing him lick your head.
Of course, this doesn't stop here. In Scenes from a Hat, when given the suggestion, world's worst person to share an elevator with, Colin decides to have a little fun and gets the jump on Ryan by... well, watch. Guess Colin wanted to do the head licking first. Of course, by hoedown, Ryan gets to fulfill Drew's dream, and probably the dreams of many fans watching, by quickly licking Colin's head. I think Colin's face says it all. Tapioca, Arctic Turn, Pat Benatar. Aside from the awesome songs created, Greatest Hits also has some of the best Ryan and Colin banter, especially when one tries to get the other to crack. And here are 3 big moments where Colin cracks Ryan with some ridiculous sayings. First, in show number 404, when asked, "What comes to mind when I say Ricky Ricardo and great cigars?" Colin answers with, "Tapioca," and begins to sing out, "Tapioca." This cracks Ryan up, and the poor guy has to turn away to hide his corpsing.
Cuba! That's a small island.
It is. What do you tell the people about it?
It's the way Ryan's fighting back laughter while speaking that gets to me. Then we have in show number 517, Ryan asks what kind of bird always says the name of our next band, expecting an owl to seg into The Who. Colin, however, answers with an Arctic Turn. And when asked what sound they make, Colin's answer is, well,
Backstreet Boys?
Ryan cracks up, as does Drew, Brad, and Wayne. Brad furthers the laughter by randomly handing Ryan a glass of water when he tries to continue on with Colin. Finally, from show number 602, Ryan and Colin are battling each other with random segs. And Colin, for the second song to be shown, has a wild one.
You know, I remember once I went to a circus and I saw the strong man bend a car. Bend a car? Pat Benatar.
Ryan is, as to be expected, left in stitches afterwards. There are several more out there, like Colin choking on his saliva and coughing, which breaks Ryan. But these three are often the ones brought up the most, Tapioca and an Arctic Tern especially. Charles Chip Eston. With killer cheekbones and awesome pipes, Chip first appeared a few times in the middle of the UK run before coming back as the first new guy of the second US season. However, due to filming commitment to Nashville, he was unable to appear as often in the revival, but his guest spots were much loved by fans and his fellow performers. Jeff Davis. The last new player added to the US run in Season 3, Jeff turned out to be versatile enough to earn regular status, not to mention the fact that he looked like he was part of the Beatles. After keeping himself busy by participating in attempted follow-ups like Drew Carey's Green Screen Show and Improvaganza, plus a little-known co-production with Chip called On the Spot, he was the first fourth member for the old series to appear in the revival. Sound effects. This game has been a series staple since episode 1 of the UK series, like Party Quirks, and has gone through several different formats. The one many remember has one player performing a scene silently, while a second performer provides sound effects, including dialogue-ish sounds from off-stage. These relied mainly on how the player doing the sound effects reacted to the performer's miming, and how the performer reacted to the impromptu sounds. In the US run, it almost always involved Colin on mime and Ryan on mic, leading to a series of reused gags. Later on, the format changed. This time, two performers will perform a scene given to them by the host, with two members of the audience picked before the game starts providing the sounds. The performers can speak and cue sounds from the audience members, but usually things go a little off the rails in spectacularly amusing fashion, in both a good or bad way. A variant done in the late UK run had 2 or 3 performers acting out a scene as normal, except that random sound effects would play without warning. It's not as remembered as the other two and was only played a few times. LGBTQ+ members. Several performers past and present are part of the LGBTQ+ community. These includes the late John Sessions, Sandy Toksvig, Tony Slattery, Julianne Clary, Patrick Bristow, Susie Eddie Izzard, Heather Ann Campbell, Stephen Fry, and Wayne Brady. Whoopi Goldberg episodes. This is the second of the comic relief trio, that includes Whoopi, Robin Williams, and Billy Crystal, that has appeared on Who's Line. Robin had appeared in the season before, as previously stated, but Billy never appeared in any episode, which is a darn shame. Whoopi, however, unlike Robin, got 2 episodes from the taping and shone bright with matching barbs with Colin in Questions Only and being hysterical in games like Scenes from a Hat and Hollywood Directors. Wayne was particularly happy to work with her, especially in song styles. One line of his song to her went, "Hey Mom, I'm dancing with an Oscar winner." At the end, he hugged her and said, "You have made me so happy." That I can believe. Quacking elephants. Hey, remember how I said that the audience doing sound variant of sound effects could go off the rails for the best or worst? This is one of the best and funniest moments. In show number 303, Ryan and Colin act out as cops about to enter a building and prompt that one would make a quacking sound, which the ladies provide. Then they changed it up to do a sound of an elephant, resulting in the ladies to quack instead by accident. Drew's laughing meltdown during and after the incident has to be seen to believe. ABC Family would actually make a whole promo out of Drew's laughing fit after this game.